This is David Hawkins, DHI Enterprises, and I just wanted to touch really briefly upon the new cameras and who they're designed for. Now, the first three cameras that I wanted to talk about are, of course, the Nikon D5, I speak Japanese, the Nikon D5, the Canon 1DX Mark II, and the Nikon D500. Now, all of these cameras are built for exactly two purposes, and that's speed and accuracy. Now, Sony might talk about having the world's fastest camera with the a6300, but it's not good enough to be fast. You also have to be accurate. You need to be fast and accurate. And with something like 61 points of phase detect autofocus, as well as like the 40-something cross type points, you're going to wind up with like more keepers in a camera like a 1DX Mark II than something like an a6300. The exact same thing with the Canon D5. It has 143 autofocus points, and the cool thing about that is that the autofocus points on the Nikon D5 actually stretch from one end of the sensor to the other, so you have like, pretty much like full coverage over most of the range of the camera there, and extremely high accuracy, which is important when you're shooting for money. Now, the Nikon D500 is basically a cropped version of the D5, Now, the big advantage that APS-C has always had over a full frame is exactly that. The crop factor is going to put you closer to your subject when using like an APS-C style camera. Another component of these cameras is video. This is where Canon has always sort of differentiated itself from Nikon. The 1DX Mark II will shoot Cinema 4K at 60 frames a second and 800 megabits a second recording speed, which is, roughly about 6 or 7 times what all the other manufacturers are shooting at. XAVS-CS, I think, tops out at about 100 or 150 megabits a second. And Nikon on the D5 and on the D500, you're talking about shooting UHD, not even like Cinema 4K, at 144 megabits a second. So the 800 megabits a second on the Canon is really unreal. Now, that said, you don't want to buy any of these cameras for video because, for one, they all have some form of pixel binning. And, the Canon, for example, doesn't have like a 4K HDMI output. It's going to output the video at 1080p. And the Nikon is only shooting at UHD, and it's only shooting at 30 frames a second. And really, at the price for that camera, you can buy a cinema style camera, a video camera for that price. So that's what you should be looking at when you're spending that kind of money if you're thinking about shooting video. So these cameras are primarily aimed at photographers that need the highest accuracy at the fastest possible speed that's going to produce the most keepers for like photos that they can sell. That's all I got time for today. I'll be back later this week with another video. This is David Hawkins, DHI Enterprises. Catch you soon.